Good morning and grand rising to you. Welcome to the start of Christmas, the wake up way.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
You can't handle the truth.
Good morning, beautiful people. We are live.
The sun is rising, the sky is blue. Good morning, grand risings, let's see what's new. It's the time of day for Sonia and crew. Good morning, grand risings. It's time to wake up with Sonia Poulton. Sonia Poulton, Sonia Poulton.
Good morning. There you go. Still going. Oh, I'm coming back at myself. How wonderful. Hello, good morning, all. Thank you to Markcuson for doing our wonderful, wonderful Christmas tune. So appreciate that. Markcuson is already in the comments. Absolutely love it. Grand risings to you all, wherever you are, whether you are in the UK or whether you're in Australia or whether you're in Bermuda or Barcelona or France or Germany or wherever. Thank you so much for being here. Chris, it's not me, it's Markcuson in the comment. We love him. We love him. Thank you all so very much. Yes, Christmas has begun the wake up style. Absolutely. I unashamedly love Christmas. I particularly love the build up to Christmas, really, probably more than actual Christmas itself, because by that point we're all so shattered. And Curly Crew, no school run today, so get to watch live. Happy December, family. Absolutely. And so say all of us. And lovely Rita is on a break with her family in Avermore and still tuning in live. How much do we appreciate that? What a great day already, says Rita. Tremendous show. Thank you, Rita. We so appreciate it. And good morning to you all, you wonderful people, all in the comments. Claire says, just managed to buy the last mug. Yeah, I made a mistake on that eBay shop, Claire. There's more. There are definitely more to be had. And but I very much appreciate you for getting one. Absolutely. I will give that a little plug later. And we've got a link in the description as well. Good morning to you all, Katie and Randy and Craig. Craig, if you think I'm going to ignore the hypocrisy of Joe Biden, you got another thing coming. Of course, Craig doesn't think that for a second. And good morning, Purple Sofa. Purple Sofa says, check out the climate and nature bill, which is being sneaked in while we are being distracted. Climate lockdowns incoming. And I think JDV is right. Something tells me presidential nepotism might be mentioned today. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Good morning, Merv and John Skidmore and Saswan and Ray J and Lindsay and Denise and Teresa and Jenny from the block, who's already doing music notes. We love to see it. And Maria is, where are you? Very hot in Sydney, Australia today. She's doing this to make us all jealous. But I'm not jealous, Maria. I'm in Christmas mode. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And hello, Marsh Girl and Michelle and Fazana and Robert and MK Ultra and Kath and LB and Peter Folder. And you name it, that's life, but not as we know it. And Paul Kavanagh, good morning to you. And Soul Sound, wonderful Soul Sound. Our crazy bunny is not back with us until Monday, and we love her, and she's having a good rest because that's what's needed, and she's away doing stuff. But Soul Sound is here, and Soul Sound will keep order. Oh, yes, she will. Granddaughter's first birthday today, says Michelle Bradley Smith. Happy birthday, granddaughter. You must be so proud, Michelle. You must be so proud. And good morning, PTC. Good morning, Swissma. Wake up. Yes, wake up, wake up, wake up. On a plane. And John from Coventry. And Shug, our lovely Shug is here. And Frank is here. And wait, Synchronized Souls just popping in to say hi. Love you all. See you soon. Yeah, but what if we love you more, though, Synchronized Souls? What if we love you more? And when she comes back on Monday, I want to play, Friday rather, I want to play a video that she sent me because it's curious, to say the least. Right, what's on today's show? Well, as you know, Christmas has begun wake up styly. Oh, yes, it has. So we will be joined by writer Johnny Mcneil, who says perceptions are being manipulated. Is the world more dangerous? Is Elon Musk here to save the British elections? Do you know who are the Pied Piper agitators? And so much more from the brilliant writing of Gaslighting Gilligan. And I'll also be joined by activist and geopolitical commentator Francis Leader, who will be answering the age-old question, who really runs the world? Plus the Arla backlash, no sign of abating, and thank goodness to that. And MP, Kim Leadbeater, licensed to kill? More about that in a minute. And who is behind Dignity in Dying? And another Diddy lawsuit, and a small business spotlight, and an anniversary. Anybody remember Catatonia's Road Rage, which is actually, I think, still a brilliant song? There's an anniversary involved in that. And the general election debate. Oh, yes. And why no one ever can beat you and your authentic self. And once again, thank you, Markcuson, for our Christmas jingle. We love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it very, very, very much. And who wants to win a mug? Who wants to win a mug? Oh, yeah. My first act of Christmas, sorry, this has got lipstick on this side. My first act of Christmas is to give you a mug. So you know the new rules by now, and that is please send an email. In the subject, just put mug comp, or even just mug. That will do nicely. By 6 p.m. tomorrow night, and the first one selected will win a mug, courtesy of me. There you go. Thank you, Markcuson. Absolutely appreciate it. Chris said popped into a spa shop for milk and they had Arla, avoided it. Of course, they're in trouble, aren't they? They are in trouble. Thank you, KD Lofty. Good morning. Go ahead, girl. Give it some welly. I am planning to have a great day. Oh, yes, I am. Just to say, mugs are now available, although lovely Claire is telling me that she's bought the last one because somehow I've probably messed up in the eBay shop, but I will check that after the end of this live stream. But the link is below, and I will get that sorted because there's more than one. There is more than one mug available. Oh, yes, there is. And we're also going to be talking later towards the end of the show about subscriptions around here. This week, we have been redesigning, rerouting and reinvigorating both the website to add more information and also my Patreon, and more details at the end of the show. But as I say, I've now put a link in the description to the mugs. And on a less happy note, this is really sad, and that is commiserations to the loved ones of Anna de Buisseret. Anna de Buisseret was one of those freedom fighters who stood up to be counted during C19, a UK lawyer, and she sadly passed away this weekend. Very sad indeed. And she was a fighter. She was absolutely a fighter. And very sad to hear that news. I didn't actually know Anna. I knew of her and I knew of her work, but I didn't know her, and I sort of admired her from afar. And rest in peace to her. Bless her. She'll be missed. She will. She was a fighter. She was like fighting up to almost her last days. God love her. Absolutely. Lots of love to her and her family. Oh, yeah. And big, deep breath. The petition, that general election petition that everybody was signing, which must be closing in on 3 million now if it hasn't surpassed it. Well, the petition for that general election will be debated in Parliament on Monday, the 6th of January. I don't think anything will happen with it. I really don't. I expect about 6 people will probably show up for it. And it's interesting, isn't it, that it's the same day as the supposed 2020 uprising in the USA, which was also the 6th of January. So that's curious. Is it the case that is the day back to work for parliamentarians and senators in the US and the UK? Who knows? I just think that's curious. Where are we up to? John says 2,939,923. Shug said apparently we're all terrorists for signing it. That's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Yes, Blue Nomad, dates, people. They love their dates. It's just a rubber stamping exercise, says DJ Darkside Jungle. And I have to agree. Sadly, I suspect it is. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't. Saw that news overnight. How shameless are the Bidens? The crime syndicate that is the Biden family. Actually quite shocking. So what Joe Biden, hair sniffing, inappropriate child touching President Joe Biden is doing on his way out of the presidency, although we all know he's not really been running anything, probably from the get-go. But what he's doing on the way out is he's pardoning his own criminal son, Hunter, over gun and tax offences. Absolute outrageous. The Bidens claim the prosecution was infected by politics and designed to break the family. No, your son is a pervert and a predator. It's time to accept it. The whole world knows it. The whole world knows it. And what's ironic, of course, is that Joe Biden promised as recently as I think it was summer, about June, that there was absolutely no way he was going to step in. Of course not. Yeah, Chris, annoying, isn't it? Randy, Randy's parrot Rosalill is having a blast with a pair of socks. I'm not buying toys for her anymore. And Joe Biden is that guy out of Halloween 3, Silver Shamrock toys. Yeah, sorry, but Sonia, he is rehabilitated now, says Craig. Hilarious, right? Absolutely hilarious. I mean, who hasn't seen the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop? It's utterly deplorable. This is somebody who broke multiple laws, is utterly vile to women and anybody that he could buy. Obviously, drugging, criminal, like criminal through and through, gun, tax, you name it. Two-tier mindsets everywhere, not to mention a foreign asset. I mean, I think there's some truth in that. I think there's some truth in that, Emma. Yes, I do. And Paul says, thank you, Daddy Biden. But it all makes us sick because it just reminds us what kind of world we're living in, right? One rule for thee and one rule for me. Oh, yes. And Shug said, I saw the contents on a Chinese site long before it was known publicly. Well, remember the role that Twitter One played in that. Wouldn't allow any of that, would they? You know, and so we all had to go to all manner of different sites in order to be able to see it. And I remember the first time I saw some of the footage from his laptop and I was like, how do they manage to keep this constantly hidden? How do they? And, you know, Joe Biden's son is one of those people who's just grown up being completely overprivileged, over-entitled, and thinks he can do whatever he wants. What has he ever done with his life except for being a prostitute acquiring junkie? Anybody want to tell me? Because I don't know. There is no law. Just rich man's rules selectively enforced, says Shug. Yes, Markcuson. Brilliant work from Garrett Ziegler and Marco Polo for exposing it. Yeah, Hunter's dad showered with his teenage sister. He did. Absolutely disgusting. Joe Biden, president of the United States, showered with his daughter. Disgusting. These people are disgusting. Get more on my Patreon. Yes, Soul Sound is putting that in the comments, and I truly appreciate it. And the other news, of course, today, which is interesting, coming from stateside, is to do with Jon-Benet Ramsey. A new cop, let's see what his name is, Steve Redfern, new police in Boulder, Colorado, which is where the 6-year-old went missing. And not went missing. Well, she did go missing, and then she was found in the family basement. And it's very odd. It's very odd. And but the new cop says that the chief investigator is now close to revealing what really happened to the 6-year-old. Poor Jon-Benet Ramsey is such an odd story. But I do believe our friends, Only Cans, will actually be doing a Jon-Benet Ramsey program on Boxing Day. More details to follow on that. But you know what? It's going to be interesting. There are so many comparisons between the Jon-Benet Ramsey case and Madeleine McCann, not least very privileged parents who were essentially able to kind of like manipulate the media and use wealth, whether their own or other people's, in order to be able to bat off questions that were aimed at them. Does anybody ever think we're going to get to the bottom of what really happened with Jon-Benet Ramsey? I'm convinced I know. And I base that on a program which involved an ex-Scotland Yard detective. It was an American program, and they went through it forensically, and they worked out various things like how long, because there was the very extensive note which was written inside the house. How long would that take? Because, of course, kidnappers arrive to steal your child, and they sit and they take time, at least 23 minutes, if I remember correctly from the analysis. And they take, well, you know, close to half an hour to write a note before they take your child, because that's obviously what people do. And not officially, says Ray J. We're not going to solve it officially, Ray J. I get you. Yes, Robert. Robert also sees the Ramseys similar to the McCanns, as indeed do I. And anybody think that is a bit rich, that Keir Starmer has been blaming the Conservatives. I mean, they're awful. Obviously, they're all awful. They're all the same, but they all blame each other. But Keir Starmer is out there blaming the Conservatives, saying that they have been running a one nation experiment in open borders to the UK. Like, they're all behind it. They're all involved. It's ridiculous. And Keir Starmer is still banging on about that 22 billion black hole in the public finances, but said the migration figures were much worse, really. Yes, Emma, that's right. A kidnapping, but they left the child. Absolutely odd, isn't it? Uni party, Joe. It is uni party. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're all in it together. Sally left a message saying, can you ask for footage of supermarket CCTV cameras? Now that follows what we were talking about on Friday about cameras being out in London, which I think was first highlighted by YouTuber Craig Houston, if I remember correctly. So I looked into it. And so Sally wants to know if you can ask for footage of supermarket CCTV cameras. I believe you can ask for any footage that features you. You go to them, you say the date and the time that they had captured you, give the reason why. They have a month in which to relinquish the footage involving you. And if not, you go to the ICO, which oversees it. Yes, you do. Frank never gets to laugh. This is my only time. Just no common sense is funny. I know. I hear you, Frank, mate. I hear you. And people, where do you watch Wake Up? This is where the lovely Jean Donnelly watches Wake Up. Yes, it is. Jean's absolutely sick and tired of reading doom and gloom on Twitter and other social media. But she sits down with us with a cup of strong tea. That looks like a cup of strong tea. And is that something even stronger in the background there, Jean? And that is where lovely Jean watches Wake Up. Merry Christmas to you, Jean. Thank you for being part of the Wake Up crew. We truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate it. Yes, we do. Airport drone still on track for tomorrow. What's it a cover for? Emu cat. What are you talking about? Talk to me. Yes, Emma. Look at the hypocrisy here. How they cut the winter fuel bill, but then make 500 million available for grants for useless heat pumps. Look, Lydia is not impressed with the ICO. Not impressed. Says they're absolutely useless when trying to resolve anything. I am sorry to hear that. What plant is that? Yeah, nice plant. What can't you say or you'll get the sack? Looks like a wee malt, says Shug. Absolutely it does. More power to Jean's elbow, I say. More power to Jean's elbow. And let us look at, I just want to reflect back on what Gemma Cooper was talking about with us on Friday. Of course, it was the assisted dying debate that was taking place in Parliament. 5-hour debate that took place on Friday. And I'm sure many of you already know the result. It has gone through to the next stage. And I'm kind of shocked. I'm kind of shocked, actually. I mean, there was a side of me where I really thought that they were going to kind of head it off at the pass, but apparently not. So MPs have indeed backed proposals to legalise assisted dying, or rather assisted suicide, in England and Wales in a historic vote. It is indeed. So Keir Starmer was among the MPs to back the bill. It was a free vote, meaning that people could side with their conscience and not go along party lines if they're whipped, which is what the leader tells them to do. But this one was a free vote. It has to be, really, doesn't it? And the outcome was 330 said yes, take it to the next stage, and 275 said no, a majority of 55. It's awful. It's a setup. It's a setup. Shocking result, says Sean. It was a very emotional debate in the chamber. There were sick and disabled people literally weeping outside. I saw footage. I cannot bear it. And of course, you have people like Esther Ransom, former TV presenter, who's pushing this. She's absolutely delighted with it all. Her daughter was there. And of course, the woman who headed up the private members bill, Kim Leadbeater, sister of Joe Cox MP, who was said to have been murdered following the Brexit vote. And I'm deeply concerned about Kim Leadbeater. Yes, I am. I've been calling her Leadbetter previously, but she's Leadbeater. I'm deeply concerned about her. I kind of struggle with her. There's things that, your solar plexus just doesn't feel comfortable. That's how I feel about her. and her involvement with Dignity in Dying, which of course is the very well-financed campaign group behind all of this. Dignity in Dying said the vote was a historic step towards greater choice and protection for dying people. Are we sure about that, though? What about protection for sick and disabled, who our criminal cabal might want to push over the edge? Anybody know anything about Dignity in Dying? Dignity in Dying is, as I say, an extremely well-financed organisation. Paul Bloomfield is the chair. Have I got a picture of Paul Bloomfield anywhere? I'm sure I have. Maybe not, but who cares? But anyway, the thing about Paul Bloomfield is that he's long campaigned for assisted dying. He's a former Labour MP, a former ally of, guess who? Sir Keir Starmer, who went ahead and voted in favour of this assisted dying bill. And Paul, as I say, has been on this for a very long time. He is the chair of Dignity in Dying. Lots of, they are privately funded, which means that we don't entirely know who's funding them. And but I think you can bet there are interests that we would find utterly repugnant behind it. And but I just want to talk a little bit about Kim Leadbeater, because she's odd. She's really odd. So the thing is, the first time that Kim came to my attention was in the hours following the murder of her sister. And that was following the Brexit vote. Now, I know there are a lot of question marks around the death of Jo Cox. I'm in no doubt about that whatsoever. But I thought the video was odd, and I'm going to play it for you because I've never gotten over it. I've never recovered from the odd video. Now, bear in mind, this is no more than 48 hours after her sister and their daughter has, we've been told, slain by Thomas Mayer. Look at this video.
And sister. There are some things in life you should never have to do. Last night, I had to go and identify my sister's body. Yes, this was Jo Cox MP, and she was many things to many people in her too short life. But she was my sister, my only sibling, my parents' firstborn child, a wife and a mum.
That's enough of that. I don't know about you, but her gurning is really weird. You're talking about your sister having been slain and you're pointing at the flowers. Oh, look at that. Isn't that amazing what they've done? The mother is odd. The father is odd. They're all odd. And I'm allowed to say that because we still, it seems, have a little bit of free speech left. I've never, ever been comfortable with that video. Never. And now she is leading this private member's bill. And the other really weird thing, let me bring this up as well, because I think this is weird. This picture was taken on Keir Starmer's first day in Parliament as Prime Minister. And look who it is. It's the whole Leadbeater family. And what is weird about this is that he used his maiden speech in the Commons to give praise to this family, including Kim Leadbeater, who, of course, as I say, is pushing for assisted dying. They're all weird. They're all weird. It just doesn't sit right at all with my gut. Something is very odd about this family. Of course, we know there's something odd about Keir Starmer. That's a whole other story. But something is very odd. Never seen that video before, says Robert. Very weird behavior. It is extremely weird. And so obviously people will say, yeah, but people react differently to death. Yes, they do. But I've literally never seen anybody have duper's delight or gurning or smiling or laughing shortly after your sister has been assassinated. It's weird. Oh, Robert is saying it is actually Leadbeater. So I was right originally. There you go. Question why. Did she really die, said HK Very. I think that's a story for another time. Yes, I do. And we just got time to look at the Arla backlash. Well, that is interesting. And by the way, just to say, this is the Dignity in Dying group. Look at them. They're all coordinated. A lot of money behind this group. A lot of money behind this group. And the thing is, I used to be very torn about the whole issue of assisted dying because we obviously need better palliative care. That's what we actually need. And I used to be really torn about it because wondering what I would do if I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. But at this moment in time, there is absolutely no way on this good and green earth that I could possibly support it, because the people who are pushing it have been responsible for the last 4 or 5 years. And we all saw what they did during C19. And I can't go into any great detail because this is YouTube, but we all saw what they did. Would you trust them to say whether you can live or whether you can die. I certainly wouldn't. So yes, a very well-funded campaign group and beautifully coordinated. And of course, Esther Ranson and her equally weird daughter are absolutely delighted. They're delighted. It's like, surely the kind of correct response, even if you support it, is it's bittersweet because nobody wants to be put in this position, but we also don't want our loved ones to be in agony. But no, these people are delighted and they're euphoric and they're extremely happy. And there you go. There you go. Color coordinated paid actors, says Ian. Ian is not impressed. Let us talk about the Arla. Oh, actually, no, we're not going to talk about Arla because I've just remembered, actually, I've completely moved times around today. I'm going to bring in our first guest. I'm going to talk about Arla afterwards. Our first guest is somebody who understands how this world works. Good morning, Johnny. I'm sorry, because I've been moving my time around. I completely forgot what time you were booked for. Please forgive me, everybody. It's Johnny Mcneil, also known as Gaslighting Gilligan. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, Sonia. Yeah, thanks for having me back on. And I was actually enjoying listening to what you had to say there. So, yeah, not a problem.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. I've brought you on because I want to make sense of what's going on. There's so many moving parts at this moment in time, isn't there? It's really curious. So if we kind of step back, and I'm pretty sure that you came on before Trump won the election. Is that correct? Because
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Tell us, first of all, your first thoughts when he won that election.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, why should we be? You know, it is the UNA party, and they obviously needed to take that kind of further lurch towards what were, you know, conventionally regarded as the right wing. But you know, the Biden administration was, you know, right wing as well. So yeah, wasn't in the least bit surprised. And you know, watching that start, I think you just briefly mentioned it there. Starmer's open borders experiment by design speech that he made over the last couple of days. Now that could have been a speech made by Farage himself, right? This anti-establishment rhetoric, which I've been trying to tell people from the outset. Farage and Trump, they are not anti-establishment figures. There is no anti-establishment movement. They are Pied Pipers for the establishment. They create the rhetoric and the political vacuum on what we regard as a conventional far right in order that the real power brokers can fill that rhetoric with fascist legislation. And so that's what we saw there. Now, you know, as a try to get people to understand that the British construct, how it galvanizes us, how it you know, compels us to come together patriotically, though actually more to the point, more fearfully, is by presenting us with threats, by presenting us with external enemies, and sometimes, you know, internal adversities and enemies as well. And so you had this choreographed speech of Starmer now pretending to be a victim of the establishment, you know, this all-encompassing establishment, and then the equally choreographed walk by Starmer across the floor at the House of Commons over to Farage as if he was a long lost mate, you know, and they're just having a wee friendly chinwag. And what they're actually doing there is they're manipulating and shaping perceptions, because what they're actually doing is they're going to try and seamlessly align Trump with Starmer via Farage and this UKIP-esque, you know, anti-establishment rhetoric, which is leading towards a very British nationalist government of unity. And a US-backed UK police state. That's what it's heading towards, okay? Because as I've said before on yours and various other shows, again, I'm ex-British military myself, ex-Sergeant Major, 25 years served. I know that there is not the British military manpower in UK alone to be able to initiate and sustain a deployment. So we've got Operation Yellowhammer on the horizon, which is to essentially militarize back Brexit. And so they're going to need external help for that. That's where the Trump presidency, where the Biden presidency would have come in, had they been able to get NATO into war with Ukraine, with Russia via Ukraine, and also had they been able to draw Iran in via Israel's genocide in Gaza. And so what you've got is, rather than have this left and right spectrum, that bar, if you like, has been so we've got this horseshoe democracy type. So the left and right have been forced together to create this horseshoe shape, where the so-called left and this, Labour, and the right, Farage's UK. Now, the way they would like us to, believe this is happening is that eventually Reform are going to replace the Tories. And
let me stop you there. Exactly.
Sure.
Can I just say, I'm so glad I've invited you on. You're literally like, I'm having one light bulb moment after another, and it's absolutely wonderful. This is what I knew would happen. So let me just go back. So we saw, some people might not have seen that. And that was, of course, Keir Starmer very deliberately, because some people are like, but why didn't he just, have his conversation in the corridor? The point was, we were supposed to see it, right? That was the point, wasn't it? But also, just to add to that, because I think some people might not be aware of it, and that is this weekend, we're hearing that Elon Musk is contemplating giving $100 million to Nigel Farage to essentially get involved in our election. Is it all part of the same thing then?
Yeah, and what that does is it feeds us. So any successes that Reform do have, perhaps in by-elections between now and a general election, any successes that Reform does have, then it can be put down to that money, as a pretext to say, well, this is why Reform are able to campaign on the level that we're about to see. But remember, the Reform UK Party is a public limited company, so I'm not actually sure if it is illegal for Musk to be able to do that. Whether he creates a subsidiary UK-based company to filter that money through, whether he does or not altogether, it could just be another, dead cat distraction. Excuse me.
Well, I do wonder whether it is in itself, because obviously it's got everybody talking, because it's a significant thing, right? And obviously Elon Musk appears to have some sort of loathing towards Keir Starmer, but does he really though? I mean, come on, tell us, Johnny, what are your thoughts?
No, it's all part of the same construct. It's theatre. And, it's a lethal theatre. Don't get me wrong, it is lethal theatre. People are actually dying, people are actually being murdered, and just to take you back to your point on the assisted dying bill, you make a very good point. That are we actually going to believe that there's a positive motive, by these groups that have carried this forward, groups which are edging towards fascism. Not edging towards fascism, have long, been in that territory of fascism. But also, I mean, we need to get our heads around this. And it was the case when the Tories were still in power. Sunak and Starmer, certainly now that he's become Prime Minister, and the head of the UK Armed Forces, Admiral Radican, for their actions in Gaza, are as yet untried war criminals. This will come to pass, and so we're to believe, that this government has got a positive motive to actually help people with assisted dying. No. It stinks to the high heavens. And it's a good observation you made there with the perfectly coordinated colours of the protests. There's clearly money and coordination behind that. So we're entering into this phase where you've got this aligned interest, billionaire-run interests, of which Musk is part of it. They do not hate each other. They are completely aligned. It wasn't very well publicized actually, but on the 27th of September, Trump and Starmer met at Trump Tower. So I imagine discussed during that would have been, the future playbooks. And I think we're seeing a future playbook now, with Starmer making the walk over to, symbolically as well, from, the way we looked at that camera perspective,
Right.
was across to the right of,
Right.
of the Parliament towards Farage. Farage is, so we're, led to believe Farage is Trump's best mucker in the UK. And so, there's an alignment coming. Now, also, if I can get this piece in, I noticed this a few weeks back, and I wrote a quick piece on staging a US coup to militarize the Trump presidency and mobilize their EU and UK bases. Now, this was Alex Jones. Alex Jones is another grifter, much like, our own Russell Brand grifter.
What, you're saying Alex Jones isn't legit, Johnny? Is that what you're saying?
Imagine the shock. And it was because he has such a reach, though. And this is where we need to be careful, because he has such a reach. Saying that he did several tweets saying that there was going to be a coup against Trump. So I imagine that would, take place upon his inauguration next year, in January next year. And then there were other various, well followed. So there was an account called Inevitable West, who only joined apparently in October this year, but has 94,000 followers. And he's quoting the Vice President-elect Vance as saying that Vance's genuine concerns Britain will be the first Islamist nation to have nuclear weapons. Okay. And so, of course, that is feeding into this inevitability narrative whereby if there is a coup against Trump in the US, then they would be forced to heighten security at their bases across the UK and the EU. And of course, one of the most, the most standout example of that would be Faslane near Glasgow. Now, also, that you had another account called but these accounts, I'm not following. These are being force-fed into Twitter feeds.
Yes.
And they're getting a lot of traction. So VDare James K, another pro-Trump account, joined July 19, 111,000 followers. And he was citing a Rachel Halliwell, who was tweeting about the Southport riots. And he stated that military intervention in UK is justified. We will be welcomed as liberators. So what's happening is there is a psychological softening up via this inevitability narrative to create and normalize this prospect of US military intervention in UK. And I think because they failed to get NATO into a war with Russia via Ukraine, they're actually going to try and stage a coup. So very similar to what they did, in January 2020.
We're being programmed, aren't we? We're being programmed. And the thing is you quote the tweet from Rachel Halliwell. For those who aren't aware, Rachel Halliwell emerged on Twitter and she talked about how her daughter had been groomed and then took her own life. And now her son has been caught up in the quote unquote riots as well. And so that was who JD Vance was quoting, right? So very emotive already. So very emotive base, right, for his starting point.
Oh, that was the VDare James K.
Oh, okay, got you.
Quoting her.
Right.
The Vance, so VP Vance, Vice President-elect Vance, was actually just saying that the genuine, it's a load of rubbish, of course, genuine concerns that UK is going to become the first Islamist state with nuclear weapons. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But, people want to believe something. They don't need logic. And then you've got BlackRock with Starmer, publicly declaring his, publicly declaring he's working with BlackRock.
Partnership, he even goes so far to call it.
Sorry, excuse me.
He even went so far as to call it a partnership, which is,
I know.
has business overtones attached to it, doesn't
Well,
it?
then there you have Mussolini's take on fascism. Was it fascism should be called corporatism because it's a marriage between corporations and the state. That's fascism.
Yeah.
I mean, how many more red flags do we need?
Yeah.
And so everything is being choreographed. Everything is theatre. They need to align Trump with Starmer's Labour.
Wow.
And we're in for some, unfortunately, we're in for some very dark times because people just don't seem to want to wake up from it. And I have to say, the key to this is in the English working masses. It doesn't matter what we do in Scotland or in Wales. It doesn't matter what the masses do up here in terms of protest. It won't matter. History shows this. The population that matters and it's got the sheer weight of numbers to carry it through is in England. And so until the English wake up from this and get out of this, snap out of this slumber that they're in, I'm afraid we're all in this this handcart to hell at the moment.
Well, yeah, are we caught in a forever war? Is that the deal?
Absolutely, because again, to come back to that earlier point, in order to galvanize the British construct, it needs war, it needs adversity. And that's why we will always have an enemy. We will always be pointed towards an enemy. Either the brown-skinned mass immigration. Essentially, if you're going to bomb the hell out of people in the Middle East, then they're going to make their way to safer places.
Right.
And of course, you have to be naive not to actually process that our own intelligence agencies are actually bringing these people in order to create the headlines that Farage, the establishment's own plant, who they parachuted onto BBC Question Time in 2010 and drip fed him to us, in order to create this manufactured cycle of destruction and recreation, this Ouroboros, this serpent eating its own tail. And that's what, if you can imagine Farage being a serpent eating its own tail, because you've got this recreation cycle that's taking place, but it's all manufactured.
Well, and what's extraordinary, of course, about Farage, for people who might not know his history, is he repeatedly tried and failed to get elected in his own constituency. I think 7 attempts. So the people in his own area were not backing him, but he was always set for a much bigger global stage, wasn't he? When do you think?
Oh yeah.
When do you think they noted him?
Well, I think he's been pretty much established from the get-go. He's probably recruited, late to mid-20s, I would imagine. There are reports of him, writing some kind of Mein Kampf-esque essays and the like, and so they've probably had their eye on him. He's probably been recruited a long, long time ago, media trained, media savvy. So, I mean, he's incredibly articulate, you can't knock, his skills. His skills are clearly there.
Right.
But he's there for a purpose. He's been trained.
Are we in a dictatorship?
Well, yes, we are. A perfect dictatorship in that it hasn't been militarized as yet. So you've got this kind of, people still perceive that they are, living within a functioning democracy, then it's more of a perfect dictatorship, because it hasn't had to be militarized as yet. However, it will be. That's entirely inevitable.
So they're making noises right now, of course, about the end of the Ukraine war, and Zelensky is coming out, but they are obviously moving their sights to the next target. What do you think is going to happen regarding Ukraine? Is this all lining up for Trump to take power?
Well, and he will be, as they cast him as the peacemaker. you know, in his first round. They'll cast him as the great peacemaker. But then I've no doubt that what will occur is, you know, again, it'll be all theatre. His hand will be forced. There will be an unexpected, you know, attack. It'll be a false flag of some description or other, in order to try and give, you know, Trump the pretext to be forced to go to war. And the original plan in 2017 was going to be the WannaCry. I am convinced was going to be the WannaCry cyber attack that was actually taking place on the NHS late 2016, going into early 2017. That was blamed eventually on Iran. However, they failed to get that. They failed to get that. But essentially, Trump was going to be the US president when that got underway, with Boris Johnson having been maneuvered into, he would have been maneuvered into Downing Street earlier had it gone to plan, instead of waiting until 2019 as it transpired it did. So you'd have had this Trump and Johnson. Instead, now it'll be Trump and Starmer against the world. So essentially, be a US UK led, if they were to succeed, global fascism, which the UK, US, and EU and the other Five Eyes democracies have been pushing themselves equally from the left. So, you know, as I've said before, in order, you know, part of the divide and rule aspect domestically within societies has been the you know, the violence against women and girls, the Me Too, the LGBT construct, just other mechanisms to divide society, destroy the family unit, and make us all, you know, put us onto easier manageable parcels in order to efficiently put us down militarily.
And that's what concerns me. And I think that you're very well placed for this, certainly with your military background. You understand strategy and how it all works. And I just feel we're constantly being played. Going back to what you were saying about X, there's no doubt about it that Elon Musk is absolutely amplifying these big anonymous accounts. And I started to do a deep dive into them, Johnny, and it turns out that that a number of these so-called patriotic accounts are actually based in India, have nothing at all to do with England. And they're the ones, they're doing huge amounts of engagement farming and being promoted extensively by Elon Musk, including this weekend, where one of them said he's considering giving $100 million to Farage. And he's like, yes. Right. So he's completely engaging with these accounts as well. So, and also, obviously, everybody knows that everybody else is practically shadow banned on X. So it's becoming, they talk about it being the world's marketplace, but it isn't really. It's more narrow than ever, in my opinion and in my experience. So how do we stop being played? Because it's so easy, isn't it? So many people are online and they just get a whiff of something and then they steam off and they're distracted because there's so much else going on that we must not be distracted about. How can we stop being played, Johnny, as a man who sees has a big overview of things?
I think it has to start, but it's the wrong time of year really to be doing it. Winter. It has to start with a general strike. That's where we have to start to bring this island to a complete grind, to a standstill. I wouldn't advise that, you know, until spring at least, because, you know, people need the utilities, people need the heating, people need, you know, to keep themselves warm and fed. Certainly this time of year, and so it's the wrong time of year to do it. But I think it will have to start with a general strike. We need to bring and to start making arrests. That will be a bold step, because you'll have people further down the chain of command, certainly in the police, certainly in the military, who will be in a position where they will have to start making arrests of senior commanders.
Can you see Ray J's question? This is interesting. What does Johnny think 77th role is in domestic plus internet strife? You're familiar with the 77th,
yeah. And I've, over the years, I think they were active during the Scottish independence referendum, or rather propaganda war. and also the Brexit referendum, and during the Brexit referendum as well. So I'm not convinced they're as active now. I think it's more so, you're, like you just said there, your India-based accounts that are playing more of a role, and they're quite happy to let us, believe that 77th Brigade still exists. Well, it probably still does exist, but it's probably not playing as large a role.
No, exactly.
And so it kind of provides the cover in a sense for those India-based, accounts that we're being flooded with.
Very curious indeed. Very curious indeed.
Yeah.
This is interesting, isn't it? Notice how Trump and Musk are both words for bad smells. How curious. You're interested in words, aren't you, Johnny? That's I think
I am actually.
That's curious.
I don't think that would have dawned on me, as obvious as it is.
No, I know. I've got you. I've absolutely got you.
Yeah.
Leave us on a positive note. We want to move forward. We want to overcome this. I think, for example, the Arla backlash is very positive because not least it's highlighting a significant issue that many people might not be aware of.
Yeah. In terms of positives, this will fail. These agendas will ultimately fail. Yeah, as I said previously, there will be, unfortunately, there'll be losses, there'll be casualties along the way. But I think I said on Caledon radio that freedom finds a way, and life finds a way, freedom finds a way, and we will succeed, we will prevail, and we will come through this. Unfortunately, we have to face up to the discomfort of the of what's coming, and I think it does have to start at the very, very early stages with a general strike, an organized general strike, bearing in mind, unfortunately, that a lot of the unions are
already captured.
Are
already captured
as well.
Yes. Just quickly, Brit Indian wants to know, why will it fail?
Because truth. Because had it gone to plan in 2017, it would have been seamless. It would have been more seamless than Iraq WMD. Because the so-called attack from Iran would have triggered the events that they've been trying to trigger via Israel, and their genocide in Gaza, and then it would have been on to Ukraine. The war in Ukraine was always in the pipeline. That was always planned, as I believe was C-19, and that was going to be part of the the way to begin normalizing the imprisonment of us after a nuclear exchange, so on Tehran, no doubt, and then I've no doubt kind of brief nuclear exchanges, tactical nuclear exchanges, maybe not necessarily in Ukraine, but certainly around Ukraine, on that theatre, or in or around that theatre, and then that would have been followed, I think, by the C-19 aspect, but because it didn't go to plan for them, they had to essentially change their playbooks around, none of which has worked, and we've been able slowly but surely to begin to get to the truth, and it's the truth that will make it fail. It's the fact that we are able to have this discussion and people are able to listen to it is why it will fail.
Got ya. Love that. Well, that's a wonderfully positive note. The thing is that they can control and manipulate many things, but what they can't allow for is humans waking up. That's
Absolutely.
What they can't allow for. Hallelujah to that. Everybody, this is Johnny Mcneil giving us a brilliant overview of what is currently taking place, aka gaslighting Gilligan. There is a link in the description. If not, I'll put it in the end of the show. Brilliant to have you with us this morning, Johnny. Truly appreciated. Take good care of yourself. Have a brilliant week.
You too. Thanks very much. All the best, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Absolutely. Bye-bye. Terrific. A terrific overview of what is taking place, because we have some of the very best guests around here. We don't mess around. Let me just look at that Arla backlash before we bring in our next wonderful guest. And I do think it's interesting. I mean, I personally love it. I love those sort of backlashes. We need them. Of course, as we know, Arla is a company that has actually, it's been functioning for a very, very long time. Danish company, and its product Bovaer, which is an additive which they've been putting into cow feeds, which then obviously that comes out one way or another in the dairy product that you may or may not be taking in. And one person contacted me and said they actually work for a dairy plant, and that some of the CEOs have been tricked by Arla. Now, I don't know how true or false that is. That might be one way of getting out of all of this. But what I do know unquestionably is that there is a series of boycotts threatened towards Tesco, Morrison, Aldi, Marks and Spencer, all people who use the Arla Foods food additive Bovaer. And it's just gaining brilliant traction. And good morning to Marion Brown on Twitter, who asked me to post this, which I'm more than happy to. She said, "Hi, could you please try to squeeze in a shout out soon about this new website happening right now, Marion? Just set up to help the public buy direct from farmers, butchers and healthy veg growers. Thanks. See you at 9 a.m. Marion, there you go. It's the Food Finders Hub. And they are connecting communities with local farms and fresh produce. We need to come together now. And I love the way that all of these companies are also coming out and saying we have nothing to do with Arla. As one example, Riverford Food. We've received a lot of questions about the methane reducing feed additive Bovaer. It's not permitted in organic farming and won't be used anywhere in our supply chain. Well, the only problem about that is it would appear that there are some organic suppliers who are potentially using it, which is troubling. There are a number of websites which will show you different suppliers in the UK, including Bovaer free farms. And people are contacting all these chains online, which is absolutely wonderful, whether that's Lidl or you name it. Then Hook & Son came out, said you can rest assured that we will not be using the feed additive Bovaer, which is now being trialled by Arla Dairy Farms. Hanover also came out and said it. And Richie Cheeseman said, I would just like to reassure people that at Wyke Farms, we have not used Bovaer on our own family farm or any of our partner dairy farms. Keep buying the cheese and butter, please. Our farmers need your support in these tough times. Now, as everyone knows, I don't eat meat, and I'm a vegetarian and at times a poor vegan. And I mean poor. I need to improve all of those things. But it doesn't mean I don't understand the importance of farmers. It doesn't mean that at all, which is why I'm talking about it here. And also Bennett Farms have come out saying we've had some people ask about the Bovaer feed trials that have made headlines this week. Our cows are not being fed any strange new additives into their diet. So let me tell you who is using it. Are you ready? Notepad at the ready. Cravendale. Arla Cravendale, filtered milk, in order to enable it in part to stay fresh longer. They say Lurpak. How many people love Lurpak butter? Well, Arla. Anchor. How many people love Anchor butter? Well, Arla. Now, this is what's interesting. There is an Arla organic range, including organic milk and other dairy products, and they brand their partnerships with like Starbucks. So that's why I said there's some confusion about what is and isn't in terms of organic that is using Arla. I think that the devil is in the detail here. And Yo Valley is a very popular brand. Their organic milk apparently is using Arla. So there's a lot of question marks over the use of Arla in organic products, even though the Soil Association have come out and said absolutely not. And McDonald's are using Arla in their cheese and milk products. Yes, they are. And the major retailers who are using Arla: Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, Morrison's, Aldi, Lidl, Waitrose, Co-op, Iceland and Marks and Spencer. Rather a lot of them. In fact, it looks like all of them. People have to be reading the labels better. They certainly do. What are your thoughts about all of this, people? Isn't the backlash good? Is it welcome? I welcome it. Yes, I'm afraid Anchor is Arla. Anything advertised is dodgy, says Kath. I just buy smart price. It all comes out of the same factory. Just a question of what label they put on it. Well, that's true. Irish butter. No mention of Aldi, or did I miss it? Yes, no, I'm afraid Aldi is there. Partners with Arla for private label milk, cheese and butter. The idea was that the involvement of Arla enables Aldi to focus on quality at low prices. There you go. Turns out that most people would rather have cows farting than them have additives. Climate emissions are gaslighting us, says Craig. Unpasteurized butter for me, says MK Ultra. Look out for the appeal label. This is the thing, right? This is literally the thing, right? Who just said that? Yes. All of these things have to be watched. The appeal label is that, the forever chemicals. Okay. And I do believe that Bill Gates has involvements in both Arla and appeal. I know we're all shocked about this. You're shocked, aren't you? Right? You're absolutely shocked. I wrote to Riverford. Oh, who did? This is how we win boycott. Yes. And this is important. There is huge boycotts taking place online. And my understanding is that our local farmers market was busier than normal this weekend. And the thing is that we know from 2020 onwards, it's the biggest transference of wealth in our lifetime from small independents to these big stakeholder capitalist conglomerates. So we need to fight back. Good morning. What's this? Diana, just got back from gym. Tick. Good girl. Good morning. Please ask if there is community up for long-term stay for van lifers. What does that mean? Anybody know what that means? And who's doing van lifing? I want to do van lifing next year. That's my plan. They've destroyed cheese, especially extra mature and vintage. It's now like rubber, says Angie. Angie's not impressed. No, Riverford Mel's apparently is all good. They actually came out with a statement. Yes, here we've received a lot of questions. We won't be used anywhere in our supply chain rather. That's Riverford for you. So backlash is happening. It's very, very real. And I would just like to point out that David Justin Reed tweeted me and said, big uproar about bio-modified foodstuffs, but 98% of the water isn't fit to drink. Farmer pollution. And good water is the building block of life. There's new research from the University of York and the Rivers Trust has revealed widespread contamination of rivers in the parks with, oddly, antidepressants, anticonvulsants, antimicrobials, anti-inflammatory substance, all present in the river. The study found pharmaceuticals in river water at 52 out of 54 locations, for goodness sake. They're poisoning us left, right, and centre. We got to be careful. Emma's a bit concerned about van life. It's promoting own nothing and be happy. It's a con. Emma is not impressed. A chain only needs a weak ring. It certainly does. And I'm going to bring in somebody who is far, 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 far from weak. One of our strongest links, actually, in my experience. Let me bring her in. Let's see if I can hear her. Good morning, Frances Leader.
Hi there. How you doing?
Here she is, the lovely and wonderful Frances. Let me just show everybody an image. This image was taken, I believe, New Year's Eve 2013. I met Frances. Frances, of course, on the right. I'm, of course, on the left, depending on how you're looking at it. And I met you at Barton Moss, didn't I, Fran? Because you are a long-term activist and campaigner. You have been prepared to get out there, even when people wanted to be all snuggled up on their Christmas and New Year's. You've been out there doing your stuff. Remember this time, do you?
Oh, as if I could ever forget. It was such a lovely thing that you did that day. I mean, New Year's Eve, and you turned up frozen just to come and cheer us on. That was so sweet of you. I'll never forget that.
Well, I felt it was myself, my daughter, our dog, my partner at the time. And we all felt that we needed to come and show you some support for what you were doing out there, because obviously you were opposing fracking and you were prepared to give up all your home comforts. Mel says, at last, I love Frances. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? And the reason I wanted to show everybody this is a decade old, this image, and that should give you some idea of who we're dealing with here and who is on the line to us. Frances Leader is the activist, in my humble opinion. You are amazing, Frances. You've been out there. You've been fighting the good fight for a very long time. And I truly, truly appreciate you. And your work is stunning. Your research is amazing. And I want to talk to you today about who really runs the world. Are you up for this?
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about some of the things that I would talk about being live on YouTube, I'm worried that if what I say might give you a strike.
Okay, well, don't worry. I will be there to catch you. Don't you worry. Okay. I'll be there to catch you, right? Because the thing is, some of the things you're talking about, I guess that many of our viewers have no idea about it. And it comes under the banner largely of the black nobility. Just give us an idea of what the black nobility stands for.
Well, it's an idea. I would say that it's a global, an international crime syndicate, and it's in a kind of chain of command, really. It's the name black nobility is actually relatively modern. It's only since the Vatican was established in 1929. Up until that point, they didn't really use that name. They weren't the black nobility. They were just the general aristocracy of Europe. But they split over supporting the Pope. And the black nobility was, you could say, the very first colour revolution, because they dressed in black and shut their doors and in support of the Pope, who was trying to get the Vatican established as a separate state from the rest of Italy, because he didn't agree with the political stance of Italy at the time. And they supported him, and once that Pope achieved what he wanted, he more or less supported them in return. And the way that they operate is, it's so international. It incorporates all the aristocracies of Europe, and thereby it's a network which covers the entire world. And a lot of people are completely oblivious of it.
Completely. I mean, that's the important thing, is that this is not a description, the black nobility that you see out there. It's not. And I think that you are one of the main researchers on this, because obviously, as you've said before in your writing, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are not the pinnacle of power in this world. But we've been saying it for so long, haven't we? Why do we know so little about the black nobility? Is this deliberate?
Well, of course it is. The half the trick to being in power is to put up human shields, and the banking elite, such as Rothschild and Rockefeller, etc., they are nothing more than human shields for the black nobility. If you think about it, they are the staff of the banks, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. They're the staff. Who do they really work for? They certainly don't work for humanity. They work for their investors, for the people that have their money in the banks. And the big bank accounts are the nobility, because these people are wealthy not in billions like Musk, in trillions. They have generational wealth that has gone back to the Roman Empire. And a lot of people are completely oblivious of this chain of command. I mean, if you think about it, the WHO that everybody's getting all upset about at the moment, who do they work for, let's say? Well, they work for the United Nations. They're a subdivision of the United Nations. And who does the United Nations work for? Well, they obey the instructions of the Club of Rome. And who does the Club of Rome work for? Well, they work for the black nobility. And the black nobility are a world crime syndicate ever since the Roman Empire. In fact, what happened was, a lot of people say, oh, the Roman Empire collapsed in 545. well, they were just simply driven out of Rome. But that doesn't mean that they actually disappeared. All they did was shift their position of power to the swamps in the north of Italy, which they then developed into what we now know as Venice. And then much later, and from Venice, they completely dominated the Mediterranean. And then when they wanted to expand beyond the Mediterranean, that wasn't a very convenient spot to control the maritime trade. They needed to move again. So they moved to Amsterdam. And then from Amsterdam, they came to the city of London. And that's where they have their financial headquarters.
Right, which is why it's a separate entity to the rest of London, right?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Let me ask you some of this. All popes are from the black nobility. Is that a correct statement?
They are, yes. They've been appointed. It looks as though they're voted for, but actually they're just appointed by the aristocracy from amongst their own members of family. They wouldn't appoint someone that they couldn't control.
Right, exactly. Shug said they already control all the money. The aim is power and control. Is it not also more money, or is it now ultimately just power and control of us?
I think that what they want now, well, they already have it. It's an illusion to say that they haven't got the New World Order, because they've already got that. They already control every government. They control all the shipping, all the trade, and especially the media. Oh my God, they've got us all believing in fairy tales. What we see on the news, as far as, I mean, I don't watch television. I haven't even got one.
Very wise.
Right. But what we see as news, political news, is a soap opera. It might as well have that EastEnders jingle at the end of it.
100%. I completely agree with you. I'm going to put up your pyramid. What can you tell us about this pyramid, Fran?
Yeah, well, right at the very top, let's start at the very top, is the royal family.
The British royal family?
The British royal family, yeah. They are very much at the top of the pyramid, not just because they are personally wealthy, but because they actually physically own so much land. I mean, I was mortified when I had a property in Essex. I discovered that I don't actually own the land, even though I had a freehold property. I only owned 6 inches of the soil. Underneath that, they could do whatever they wanted. And when we were doing the anti-fracking, when I met you, it was obvious then to us that we could not stop them from drilling underneath all our houses and factories and roads and God knows what. We couldn't stop them doing that because it doesn't belong to us. Everything beneath 6 inches belongs to the Crown. And that's so that's why our royal family is at the top, because it doesn't just own Great Britain, does it? There's all Five Eyes countries. And if the Americans think that they've got independence, they're dreaming. They haven't got independence at all. These are all the illusions and the
right.
And the soap operas that are going on, layer upon layer upon layer of soap operas.
100%. Sorry, my darling, I want to work down that pyramid, because right at the bottom, obviously, are the debt slaves, birth, school, labour, taxes, debt. Is that where we are?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is where we are, right at the bottom.
Right.
The majority of people are in debt, even if they don't know that they are. You can have, like myself, I don't have any personal debt. Right. But as long as I live in a nation that has national debt, I'm in debt.
Right, you're a debt slave to that. Got you. And so the next step up from that is the actual controllers, right? The world population control. And that is religion, government, education, and media. Well, the thing is, Francis, I don't know about you, but I see a real quickening taking place. Like, people are becoming aware so quickly because it's all happening right in front of our eyes now. They're not even bothering to hide a lot of it, are they? Over the last 4 years, we've seen the coming together of religion and government and education and media, and how they all work together against us.
That's right, they do. And it has been in our faces. And one of the things that strikes me about that is it seems to be in our faces in such a way as to say, and what are you going to do about it?
Exactly. Did you, by any chance, hear Johnny Mcneil earlier? We were talking about Keir Starmer crossing the floor to get all pally-pally with Nigel Farage. And as you don't have a TV, you probably haven't seen it. Have you seen that by any chance?
I heard the conversation you had earlier, yeah.
But that in itself is in our face, isn't it? We're asked to believe that these are completely opposite sides of the table. But Keir Starmer very deliberately in front of the TV cameras crossed the aisle from left to right, so very symbolically as well, to shake hands, like he was holding Nigel Farage very affectionately, right? And so I think that's an example of it, right? I've already got so many questions for you, my dear. Craig wants to know, will we ever get accountability?
Accountability from whom would he like? I mean,
right. I suppose
all the way up. If you look at all those layers in that pyramid, each layer is protecting the layer above it. So the media, which is immediately above us, is protecting all the other layers above that.
Yes.
And so accountability is several layers deep. And no, I don't think we'll get it. I don't see how we could.
It's entrenched, isn't it? That's the problem, because above the World Population Control is World Resource Centre. So obviously what you have there is like Shell and Visa and Barclaycard, and it goes on, doesn't it? And so, and like Macy's. So these are grand institutions, often financial. Okay. And they are being worked by the black nobility. Is that, other than the debt slaves, is everybody else sort of part of the black nobility?
Unknowingly, what you have, the way that our society operates, it's always to hold a carrot out in front of you. Oh, you'll need to rise up to the next level. And the carrot is to improve your circumstances, your life circumstances. And so when you go up another level, you think that you're getting somewhere, that you're in the know, but there's always another level above that and above that. Exactly. And you're never going to get into the aristocracy. Right. It's just not going to happen.
Right. And then, of course, we go on to World Financial Control, which is the tax revenue, the central banks, the IMF as one example. And then you have the powerful subfamilies, the round table, the think tanks, right? United Nations, Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission. I mean, even those names now are actually becoming quite regular. People who have no idea about these things do have some understanding now that the Bilderberg Group exists, that they get together every year, they make decisions that are not really necessarily for our liking. So there is understanding which is coming through, isn't there? We're in a better place than we were, say, 10 years ago.
Oh, definitely. Without the internet, we wouldn't know any of this.
Right.
Previous to the internet, there were researchers and whistleblowers who were talking about these things. People like John Coleman wrote the books, The Committee of 300. And Sutton and Webster Tarpley, there were authors who revealed these secrets of the pyramid of power, but they were very much marginalized, and it was easy to keep them out of the public eye.
Right.
The internet has opened that much up to us now, because you can get their books in a PDF form and read them online. And basically that's what I did in order to be able to research this material.
And the thing is, obviously, after that, right at the top of the pyramid, as I say, the committee of 300, Crown Council of 13, and then the royal family. So obviously, that's a picture of Lizzie. She's no longer with us. So is Charles now the top of the pyramid? Because he seems very malleable. It seems like, because he's obviously part of it all, isn't he? He's part of the whole WEF thing, Build Back Better, the whole climate change, net zero, all of that. But is he now at the top of that pyramid? Does it matter who it is? It's just the British royal family.
Yes, he is at the top now, and I know. Honestly, and his latest efforts have been so funny. You know, we've got the Magna Carta, for which we're famous worldwide. Well, he's got two more now: the Magna Terra and the Magna Astra. Now, these are commitments to Terra is obviously the Earth, and Astra is obviously space. So he has now claimed a divine right of rule virtually over all of Earth and all of space. But it's done in such a sweet little way. You know, you'd need to look these documents up, but he's actually written documents claiming the rule of Earth and space. And
it's shocking. It's actually shocking. I'm going to read what Poppy says here. Why does nobody talk about Judaism and how it took over Rome, Europe, became the Vatican, and is the root of all these oligarchs right and left? But you don't actually necessarily, because we've always been told, haven't we? It's Jesuits, it's the Jews. We've always been told that, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't accept that. The Jesuits and the Jews are both human shields for the aristocracy. The aristocracy have always employed quasi-religious military groups like the Jesuits, and they've always employed the Jews in their banks because they act as a barrier. People only look that far up the chain and see these people and assume they're the top, and they're not the top. They're the staff.
Right. So what is the defining issue that enables you to become part of it? Is it money, or do you have to be born into these? Because one of the things you talk about is generations of inbreeding that takes place regarding the black nobility.
Yeah.
And you say it's resulted in a breed apart. Very interesting description, that one.
Well, it has, because generation upon generation, they have intermarried royal families worldwide, and because they've done that, they have bred apart from us, from the rest of humanity, and they have caused themselves a number of issues, one of which is a form of psychopathy. They're not right in the head, Sonia.
No, inbreeding does that often, doesn't it? Oddly enough.
So,
Oddly enough. Where does the role of, like, for example, Knights Templar, Masonry, etc., where does that play a part?
Yeah, those are another layer of military operatives working. They might as well, if this were the Roman Empire, which it is, Roman Empire Mark II, they would be like the centurions. Those are the people that work for the black nobility.
So, Francis, have we already entered the New World Order? Because I assume we have. I mean, everything looks exactly as we were kind of told it was going to be. But are we there?
Oh, God, yeah. We've been there for ages.
Right.
It's just nobody wants to admit it.
How long are we talking? We're talking decades.
I would be more inclined to see it as over 100 years.
Really?
Yeah.
How curious. Right.
I can't see how if you look at the way it all operates, especially the business of democracies. Oh, yeah, here we go. We've got democracies. It's all, I would call it demockery. It's it's all taking the piss out of us. Oh, excuse my language.
That's all right, darling. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. So here's the thing, though, is that it is, isn't it? We are being subject to mass gaslighting on a constant, absolute basis, but people like you and I can see it, which is fantastic because we're able to point it out to other people and help other people to see it as well. And that's what we need to keep doing more of. There's other stuff that you've written in your articles. If I haven't already, I'll put a link to Francis's Substack, which is absolutely brilliant. But there's words that I simply don't understand, and I want you to guide me through them, please.
Okay.
And that is, so for example, you talk about how the black nobility view the world as a gap and core binary world. What does that mean?
Oh, now you're talking, right. There was a brief, a Pentagon brief, given to the top brass of the Pentagon in America. And it was given by a guy called Thomas P. Barnett. And that was in 2004. And the object of his lecture was to make the military brass in the Pentagon view the world as no, it's not countries anymore, it's not continents anymore. The way they want to view it is that it's the gap and the core. And on my my work, I did manage to find a copy of his map that he used in his lectures.
And not non-integrating gap countries.
Yeah. Now,
talk to us about that.
Well, that's virtually a band all the way around the middle of the planet. It's a large number of countries in South America, going across the Caribbean, all of Africa and the Middle East, and then coming right the way around to excuse me, I got a cough. I've not been well recently.
You haven't, and I'm so glad to have you with us, actually, and I do truly appreciate it. So what does that symbolize, though, that band around all those countries?
Well, as it says on that map, they're non-integrating, so they're considered to be the gap, and the core countries are the ones that we would call the Five Eyes, for example, America, Canada, UK, Australia and New Zealand, and most of Europe, even Russia and China, and those are considered to be the core countries. And the idea of the gap and core attitude is to clear the gap of humanity into the core.
That's curious, because you say if you live in a gap country, you have two choices, die or migrate. If you live in the core, you have no choice, and that is accept migration, poverty and debt.
That's it. That's what it comes down to. I mean, he didn't actually say those words. That's my words after having studied him, his book and his lectures. And that's where I came to at the end, is putting it in a nutshell, is if you live in the gap, you really do have no choice. They say you've got two choices. You die or you migrate. That is what they're doing to all of those countries that are under pressure at the moment, especially in the Middle East. They're killing people or they're driving them out. And the object of that is to drive them into the core countries, where they in turn will put pressure on the populations there and cause chaos and stress and cultural clashes, and too much pressure on infrastructure and support networks. So they're causing chaos worldwide.
Right, because
deliberately.
I beg your pardon, because one of the things that you say, one of the goals, probably the main goal of the black nobility, is to annihilate life itself and replace it with their own design. Expand on that.
Yeah.
That's such a serious statement.
I know it was. When I wrote it, I remember thinking at the time, wow, this is going to hit people so hard, but that is the only thing I can see is where they're going. If you look at what they fund and what they plow their money into, it's all about finding the singularity via AI. It's all about immortality. They're desperate. They're not religious people, the black nobility. They give the impression that they are, but they're not. They're atheists and nihilists, and that means that they don't believe they believe you live and you die, and that's it. There's nothing else.
Right. So they want the best life, and they want it the way that they want it, for example.
That's right. And they also want to find a way of achieving immortality.
Right.
So that's what they plow their money into, finding a way to live longer, to even transcend the physical. That's why they're talking about uploading of themselves into the cloud and all that kind of thing.
Oh, so everything that, not everything, but a lot of the main agendas that we're seeing, like transhumanism as one example, obviously the rush to for a central bank digital currency, net zero. This is all part of the same whole, isn't it?
That's it. It is.
Right.
And when you look at what they're doing, for example, seed banks and gene banks and collecting information about nature as a whole, I couldn't help but think, well, why are they doing that? Are they planning to annihilate everything and then restart it?
Right. But they have an attitude of superiority, don't they? They believe they are significantly above us, and our really only role is literally to be wage and debt slaves to them. Is that accurate?
I think they would much prefer that we just weren't around at all, Sonia.
Really? That dismissive. This is interesting. So Vicky wants to know if you are religious. Are you religious?
Yes, but I find it hard to describe what my religion actually is. I believe the universe is a being. I believe that I'm a tiny little part within a being, and so I don't know what religion that actually fits in with.
It doesn't have to fit in any. I mean, the thing is,
Right.
I believe that ultimately human beings are the most creative, and so we can, in essence, create our own existence, right? My religion is the trees and the earth and all of and nature. That's my religion, and I feel very much a part of that. You know, we don't have to necessarily subscribe to a mainstream religion, do we? Amy says they want immortality because they're too scared to die and face retribution. But you're saying they don't believe in anything beyond here, right?
That's right. They don't believe in any form of retribution. They don't believe in God. They don't have that at all. They're not afraid of a divine retribution because they see themselves as the divine. They're the divine. It's so difficult to explain because you've got to be almost psychopathic to follow their thinking.
Well, that is the thing, Fran. I mean, I completely relate to that, right? And that is when I, talk about any kind of forms of abuse that take place. For example, some people struggle to believe that child abuse happens, that there can be such degenerates. And that is because if you're not of that mindset, it's very difficult, isn't it, to understand that something exists, especially what we're talking about right now. And right, she explains it very well. She does, good ship lollipop. She absolutely does. Blind hip shaker is a pastafarian. That's interesting.
What's that?
We kind of love that, right? And I'm spiritually aware, and yes, exactly, Kath, that's kind of how I feel. I'm spiritually aware, and religious beliefs are a tool of divide and conquer, in my opinion. So all the things that we're hearing, right, Fran, this I think is interesting, because if these people are controlling the media and everything else, right, why do certain stories get leaked out which appear to be against them? What's that about?
Well, they're never they're never stories that are going to actually rock the boat. There'll be minor, for example, which royal family has been had any bad stories about them? There just aren't any, as far as I know.
Right. So are we at this moment in time going through that great reset?
Yes. Charlie endorsed it in 2021. He was a co-author of the Great Reset book with Schwab. Sorry, I can't help but laugh at that.
Klaus Schwab. He just he looks like every bad James Bond villain that has ever, and that surely is not a coincidence. I mean, that in itself, because the moment that he appeared on the world stage and we heard his accent and everything, many of us immediately related to something dark and foreboding.
Well, again, it's another soap opera to keep you occupied. Oh, look at this guy. Doesn't he look weird? Listen to his funny accent. And let's worry about the World Economic Forum. But again, that's another soap opera.
Yes.
Look at the bit players. Look at the servants and not notice the bosses.
Yes. Oh, good point. And we need to keep focusing on those bosses. So what do you think about what is going on at this moment in time, right? Big overview, because I'm really interested in that, because I think following on from Johnny, who's given us, what is happening here, and you're doing the big overview stuff. Who are the puppeteers? Because we don't focus on them enough. So everything that we're seeing, a lot of the division that takes place, this is all pre-planned.
Oh, yeah. Right now, the object of the exercise is to clear the gap into the core, cause chaos, cause international strife, while they get on with raping the earth of every commodity they possibly can.
Right.
It's like what they're doing in Gaza. That's what they want to do to the entire gap.
Wow.
That's just the beginning of it. You can see that that's what is going on. They're going to bulldoze the whole of the countries that are in the gap in order to get at the resources, the mineral resources that are underneath them. That's all they care about, is the value of the stuff underneath.
Craig wants to know, how does gold and silver link in? Do you have an answer to that?
Well, it's the only thing that has any real value. Everything else is just monopoly money, isn't it?
Right.
That's the only thing that I would invest in.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right, you're an activist through and through. It's in your blood, right? And so you and I'm the same. I'm a journalist, but activism is in my blood. I feel we always have to take action. But the thing is that they can only control us to a certain degree. The actual exponential speed that people are waking up, even people you would never think about. I know people now are like, I'm not doing this again. They coerced me into that around C19 and all of that. So I'm not doing it again. So we are getting this huge awakening taking place. And no matter how much control the black nobility have on us, Fran, surely, ultimately, they can't account for what is happening out here. They can't. We have the ability to take it all back, don't we? Please tell us yes.
I would love to say that. I would love to be able to have that much faith in the rest of humanity. But I haven't got that, because so few people fully understand, fully appreciate just how separate from us they are. They're not available for us to disempower them. It's not possible to.
Multiple layers in between us and them.
The layers to them, and their wealth is stored in, for example, the BIS, the International Bank in Switzerland. They support each other. They work as a network. It's a crime syndicate against the rest of nature. It's not just human beings who are being exploited. This is the thing. It's the whole of nature that is
Yes.
being contaminated and exploited.
Yes, this is, I think, perfect. We keep expecting better every time from the same people we can't trust. And that has to be a turning point for many people, right? Because they keep repeating the same thing. Oh, look, let's Keir Starmer's not working, so let's call for another general election. And all they'll do is, I mean, just, you must find all of that farcical.
I do. I've not so much farcical as I feel sorry for people because they haven't got the full picture. If they're still thinking that what goes on in that parliament has any power whatsoever, then I've failed. I've failed in my message. And well, as you know, I've been banned off of every social media.
Yes.
I'm just about clinging on in Substack, but it's only a matter of time because the people that run the financial backing of Substack, Stripe, they're chucking people off left and right because we're anti-Semitic, because we support Palestinians.
Yeah, you're not anti-Semitic. You're not anti-Semitic, and it's important to stress that you're not at all. And this is a lie. This whole idea that if you question the government, then you must automatically be anti-Semitic. No, it's a lie, and we're going to fight it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so what's happening at Substack is very subtle. It's under the carpet. Not many, even the writers on Substack are not aware that Stripe is the financial backbone of Substack. And when Stripe says, no, we're not going to carry your words,
yes,
you're gone. So I'm like I said, I'm hanging on with my fingernails to the one last account, which is Substack. I've been thrown off of Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Zoom, Skype. I'm treated like the world's worst. I don't know.
You're the black nobility's leper. That's what you are. And I love you for it. Francis, thank you this morning. Some people are like, whoa, I'm being black-pilled this morning. And I do have faith. I have faith in my heart that ultimately we can overthrow them. I believe that there are more of us than them. And I believe that your work is absolutely not in vain. I think that your work, history will show, Francis, that what you've done, what you've been prepared to do, will form an integral part of our awakening. And I appreciate you very much for that. Is there anything you'd like to say before you leave us this morning?
Yeah, I just want to do a little in memorandum for Anna de Buisseret. She died on Saturday, and that absolutely tore my heart. I must admit, I had to have a cry because that woman was such a good activist. My God, she was great. And to see her fade down like that and disappear on Saturday just broke my heart. I've lost a lot since we met up at Barton Moss. I've lost most of the older activists that were there with us at that time.
Yeah.
And most of them died of cancer and related breathing illnesses. And I myself am not too clever, but I'm just too stubborn to die, I think.
Wow. God bless you, darling. Rest in peace, Anna, says Stephen. And so say all of us. I did mention her at the top of the show, but thank you for drawing our attention again to her. You're absolutely right. A formidable activist and campaigner, as indeed are you, everybody. This is the truly wonderful Francis Leader. Take good care of yourself, Francis. Lovely to have you with us this morning.
Great to have been here. Thank you.
Pleasure, darling. Oh, isn't she lovely? She's lovely. I've always been a Francis fan. I have. Rest in peace, Anna. Yeah, it's a bit full on this morning, isn't it, kids? We're not messing around, are we? We're not messing around. Right, let's have a look at something else. This is, let me just see what I've got in front of me that I'd like to bring up next. This is curious. Well, not necessarily curious. Anybody familiar? I love this song by Catatonia, Road Rage. And it was a huge hit. Let me just bring this up. These are some stills from the video. It was actually really a very advanced song. It was, let me just get some details here. It was actually taken from Welsh band Catatonia's second studio album, International Velvet, in 1998. It was written by band member Mark Roberts, and the production credit generally went to the band. It was the third single from the album. It was released in April 1998. It followed the breakthrough success of Catatonia's Mulder and Scully. And what was curious about this song was it was actually based on the murder, very sadly, of Lee Harvey by his girlfriend Tracy Andrews in December 1996. Well, the anniversary of that was yesterday. It was December the 1st. And what was curious about road rage was it was generally quite positively received by the press. It was particularly praised by the way that Cerys Matthews, the lead singer, was really used her Welsh accent and rolled her R's. But they were also attacked. They were attacked by the family of Lee Harvey, and it's very sad. Maureen Harvey stated in her book, at least the group singer Cerys Matthews had the decency to return my call and explain that she hadn't intended to cause any offence. She tried to convince me that the song showed how Tracy had gone crazy and that it actually didn't do her any favours. And the song appears on the surface of it, well, it was inspired by the murder of Lee Harvey. But I think that the Harvey family were upset because it wasn't a road rage attack. It was a psychopath attack. And that was Tracy Andrews. Thank you, Wade. I appreciate that. 5 miles from my house. Was it, Steve? Is that right? Okay, interesting. Very interesting. It's all over the front page. Martin remembers. That's right. That's right. And I think so. The start of it, I'll never forget that. And that is, if all you have to do today is find peace of mind, come here. You can take a peace of mind. And it's so brilliant the way Matthews sings those lines. Absolutely brilliant. But there was another side to this song and why I'm interested in it. And that is, it was about advancing technologies. And in this video, so bear in mind, that's nearly 30 years ago. And in this video, it was all about advancing technologies. And that included computer, it included flying cars, but there were also monkeys who were central in this video. Yes, and that's why I'm interested in it, because it's all about, even though it was inspired very sadly by the murder of Lee Harvey, it is also about advancing technologies. And you have to wonder sometimes, right, how people just know this stuff even 30 years ahead. And that is because, as Francis has been telling us, it's all mapped out for those who care to look. Shug, how can you never have heard of this song? It was huge. It must have been in the Midlands. I think it was in the Midlands, wasn't it? Around that area. Yes. And wait, what? Funky Monkey, Blind Hip Shaker. But I just thought it was curious. And I just think some of the imagery in the video was also very curious. They're telling us far in advance what's going to happen. This was 30 years ago, people. Yes. I heard it and was living in Spain at the time, says the Bloom Nomad. Yes. What a lady, says Steve. What a lady. So, yeah, rest in peace, Lee Harvey. Tracy Andrews, of course, has now been released. She's been known by a number of names, including Jenna Stevens Goldsworthy, Tia Carter. But she was obviously imprisoned and she's released, and I don't know who she is now, and presumably operating under a completely different identity. And also, I think the interesting thing is Mercury retrograde has also kicked in big time. And I started to reflect on things and influences in my life, including my life as a music journalist. And I used to love this song, and I still do, actually. But what I'm being forced to do is really reflect on the output of the music industry and how much they already knew and how much they were already telling us. And that, I think, is interesting. Oh, yes, I do. And you know what else I think is interesting? Let me just see if I can bring this up. And by the way, that whole Greg Wallace thing is all a bit pants, right? Greg Wallace, MasterChef, all over the news. And it is obviously a distraction, but he's just another one of those overprivileged, over-entitled BBC people who have been saying objectionable things for a very, very long time. But I don't think for a second he's necessarily in the kind of Hugh Edwards category, right? But also he came out yesterday saying that the complaints have come from middle-class women of a certain age. Well, Women of a certain age don't give a flying fig, Greg. That's why they're going to stand up and be counted, although they weren't standing up and being counted when they were part of MasterChef. And people want to know why that is. And the thing is what people don't realize is that people who appear on TV notoriously stay quiet about the injustices that carried out for fear of not getting another gig on TV, right? Silence is complicity, reality. Ray J is this is a great comment here. It's military behind the music industry, Mel's. I do instinctively feel that song is not all that we're led to believe it is. That's why I wanted to raise it up. Ray J's comment, and I'm not going to post that, Ray J, because I could probably be done for libel, but I take your point, mate. I do. And Wallace wants the BBC payout. That's why he doubled down with middle class women. BBC are a government arm and have been for a long time. I saw him chimping away at breakfast in a spa. It was mediocre at best, and he judges. What was that? Definitely a distraction psyop. Yeah, all over the news. As someone who's worked extensively in TV over a very long period of time, I can tell you there's loads of Greg Wallaces who say outrageous comments, but there's also women who say outrageous comments, right? This is not new. It's not new at all. Right. Let's bring in some videos, shall we? I've got some videos, some geoengineering videos. Let me read some of your comments here. What's this? Joe Cox equals jokes. Don't know what that means. As a woman of a certain age, I don't give a fig, so I would have opened my mouth at the time, says Angie. Same here. I doubt he has seen them in concert. What are you talking about? Mannix, what's going on? I'm missing this. MI5 have BBC connection. Stephen, they have for a very long time. They were forced to admit, the BBC were forced to admit that in the 60s and 70s, it was MI5 who were actually vetting people who worked at the BBC. Don't anybody tell me that's not still going on. As I said when I was interviewed, by Richard D. Hall, I was given a BBC laptop, and what I saw very clearly in the BBC laptop was the complicity between number 10 Downing Street, which is, of course, is the home of the British government, and the BBC. And 10 Downing Street were instructing BBC News how they should talk about austerity, and I was given that laptop to go over. And so I know absolutely the complicity. Who vets the vets? Tavistock behind a lot of the music industry. Blue Nomad, absolutely. The Tavistock. Did I ever tell you my story of where I got in trouble on LBC? I got in trouble on LBC for describing the Tavistock for engineering society since the 60s. And I got in trouble and I was reported for that. Nothing ever happened. BBC are propaganda for government. Yes, they are, people. I know who cares about Greg Wallace. Women of a certain age would not worry about him. Yeah, that's right. Yes, MB, Mariana Spring absolutely does scream spook media actor. Yes, I believe all Hollywood has sold their souls for fame, unfortunately, says Vape King. Yes, dears. Yes, absolutely. Right, let's have a look at some geoengineering. We have got, let me bring Spencer. So Spencer's I wanted to play on Friday. Spencer said, I'm just playing the one video here, Spencer, but this time taken on late morning, 17th November. Have I got the right one, Spencer? Forgive me. Let me just check, see what we've got here. Right. Very unusual flight formation. I hope you're able to show these. So look, that's interesting, isn't it? Look at all of that, people. Do you believe that to be contrail starting point? Talk to me in the comments. Do you? That is not a contrail. That is not. Look how far it goes. Look how far it goes. Spencer, I have to go and dig out your other video now because I'm not quite sure what's going on here. But the other one that I wanted to show, because I think this is interesting. This is from Paul Cardin, who's actually in our comments. Look at this. He said a particularly bad one. He found this on his flash drive. Look at that. Look at the state of that. Sure, that's contrails, people. Not. Every day. Yeah, 100%. It is. It's weather weapons or climate change, probably. Quotes, says Vape King. Military industrial complex, weather modification. Yeah, keep looking at the skies, but that's particularly thick, isn't it? That's particularly thick. Right. Where do I want to come to? Right. This is interesting. What have I got here? I found this old video of Diddy. Of course, Sean Diddy Combs, formerly known as Puff Daddy, now supposedly known as Love. But of course, he's banged up in a Brooklyn jail. He's been charged with trafficking and assault and a number of other charges that are taking place. But he's also been beset with a huge volume of lawsuits that are also taking place. And one has just come out this weekend. And what have I done with it? Oh, well, never mind. I can remember off the top of my head anyway. But the idea was that the designer, this woman here, which is Brianna, her name is, she is now suing him, I believe, for $10 million. And she said he dangled her off the balcony. Now, this is something that I've heard before, not just about him, but about other people. Suge Knight was infamous for dangling people off of balconies to get them to do what he wanted to. But so this woman is now suing Sean Combs. And as I say, said that she dangled him off the balcony and other things. So obviously Combs is being sued left, right and centre. And the thing is, I don't think it's really going to bother him because in one respect, because one, obviously he denies everything, but not just that. And this is interesting, is he transferred much of his wealth before he was charged. It's almost like he knew it was happening. But look at this video. This video, I think, speaks volumes about who he is. Now, I want to just give you some context, right? This, Michael Jackson and blankets as MT70. Remember that? I wonder if there's something ritualistic about, other than, because obviously when you dangle somebody off a balcony, it's a threat, isn't it? They think they're going to fall. It's all those different things that are in place, intimidation. Yes, Sugar's a very bad man, very, very, very bad man. And Eazy-E told me that himself, Eazy-E told me to watch out for Suge Knight before Suge Knight became famous. Is there a resurrection? Yes or no? The penultimate question of our age. Well, answer it in the comments. Of course there's going to be. I'm all up for it. We have it all. Look at this video, people. So basically, let me give you the context. The context is, I think this was probably close now to this was probably around 1997, probably close to the time when I interviewed him. And this was either at the end of his time at MCA or the start of Bad Boy. And I think he'd probably just won a very, very big deal. Look at his reaction. Ready?
Oh, I'm a savage. Whatever I want, I'm going to get. Whatever I want, I have to get. Yes. What's next? What's next? I gotta get.
I'm a savage. Whatever I want, I've got to get. What's next? Well, here's the thing, Sean, is that you wanted bail and you've been denied that 3 times, even though you put up $50 million. I'm pretty sure you certainly didn't want to be convicted because you thought, not convicted, you haven't been convicted yet. I'm pretty sure you didn't want to be charged because the thing is how many very famous and rich people were in attendance at those parties and maybe compromised. And I bet Combs operated for many years on the understanding that nothing's ever going to come of this. It doesn't matter what we're doing at those parties or what people are saying. And can I say, one of my Patreons asked me to look into the issue of tunnels and the Getty Museum, which I will be doing, and hopefully by Friday. But the point is that I think Combs's time in the spotlight is over, right? We can see from that image that he was a psychopath. Right? An absolute psychopath. Diddy versus the black nobility. Who would win? Well, the thing is that the black nobility will ultimately win because they own him. Almost certainly they own him. He was only allowed to rise because he was prepared to do certain things. And he was, for a long time, people knew he was horrible. They didn't necessarily know that he was involved with issues like trafficking, which of course is all allegations at the moment. He's not been convicted of anything and he denies everything. But for a long time, people knew he was horrible. He was taking publishing from his artists. He was treating his artists awful. Shine took the brunt for Diddy and a gun incident, which at a nightclub at the end of the 90s. And I think in the end, he gave Shine something like only $50,000 when they were on a trip after Shine had spent some time in prison. Yeah. And that was him getting good. Yeah, Ray J. Let's remember that. Let's watch it again. This is literally him getting good news.
Oh, I'm a savage. Whatever I want, I'm going to get. Whatever I want, I have to get. Yes. What's next?
I've met a lot of his type. I've met a lot of his type, and they're so focused on what's next, and it's all about control. But he's over. I mean, I don't see how he can come back. But as I say, he denies everything. I just thought it was really interesting. When I fell across that video last night in my files, I was like, yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to play that. Unhinged Reba, absolutely. Mikey knows nothing. Who off the Essex boys? Well, that's interesting because obviously that's another anniversary that's coming out that we should talk about. And small businesses, people. Let's promote small businesses. And this is from an awake gentleman that I found on X. And it is, let me just find it here, Bill White Nurseries, the Plant Centre, retail and wholesale nurseries. Very interesting. And this is as I say, a very awake gentleman. He's on our side and we need to support him. And I will put a link in the description to it. So if you need any plants, anything for your garden, grounds, anything, go there. Fallon Fox said, I was like that when United done the treble in 99. 20 million what? They have a lot of creeps lining up for Diddy's position. Randy, they can't wait to get them in. So yes, small business plug people, Bill White Nurseries. And this is the perfect time of the year to order from them. And they are on our side. Check him out on X. And I'll put a link in the description. But also, can I say, this is so interesting, right? Why are they shutting down the celebrity haunt, the Groucho Club? It's being shut apparently over a crime claim. Now, anybody who knows anything about the Groucho Club knows that has hidden many things for many years. A lot of stuff I can't even talk about on here for fear of libel. But there was, for a very long period of time, a forum online, which I think has probably gone now, that was making some very extreme claims about what was taking place at the Groucho Club. The Groucho Club, incidentally, I was invited to one night by David Icke, who was on his way to meet Russell Brand. So it's that kind of hangout for famous people. I didn't go. I know people would have jumped at that. I also didn't go when David Icke invited me to go to Stonehenge with him and Steven Tyler. And now on reflection, I can see why, because Steven Tyler is, well, frankly, somebody that I would consider a bit noncy. Wasn't he involved with like a 14-year-old? Disgusting. It may be much more consequential than you think. Yeah, Frank. Really, Fox? There's stuff going on at the Groucho Club. Continuation of the Hellfire Club. But I just raised that up just so that we're aware. Keep looking at it, really, and see what's going on and what's what, yo. Now, let's see. This is lovely. This was sent to me by, I think, is it Yellow Tractor Online or Red Tractor Online? Either way, I kind of like it. It's the back of a van. I have been blanked out the number plate, but look, relax. There is no climate crisis. Net zero equals sum total of UK MPs IQ. I love that. Yeah, Mels, I'm very careful what company I keep. Groucho Club, Christine, is literally like the famous person's club. The fact that they're closing it down now over some criminal elements is extremely interesting to me. Yes, Bohemian Grove to King Cora. Yes, Ray J. Exactly. Stick with the winners. Do you love that, Crone? Do you love that? Yeah. We are the winners. We are indeed. And we love that. Yes, we do. Right. Is there anything that I need to talk about that I haven't talked about that I need to? Because I just don't like that situation. Subscriptions. Monthly commitments. I'm looking for them. I've been told that people want to subscribe to what I'm doing here and to help it grow. And so, under much resistance from me, because I'm really bad like that, I have been press ganged by people who are better at finances than I am to make an appeal to you out there. I am deeply heartened by the amount of people who have come to me and said, look, just plug it and we will give you a monthly amount. And so what we've set up this weekend, well, it's already in effect, is our wake up page. But there is also the Patreon. I have a Patreon and I have a wake up page. Now, the wake up page, you can subscribe via PayPal, any amount each month, anything from £1 to millions if you got it. Right? Any amount at all. But it's just that regular monthly commitment will give me something to work with. And the thing is my aim is by the end of December to cut adverts from our YouTube feed. Right? So that's a goal we're working towards for the end of this month. And getting a regular subscription from people is a step in that direction. And also, the aim is to keep building up, wake up, so that we can introduce a third day as well. And one of the things that I do that many people aren't aware that I do, and that is anybody who is a journalist or researcher who comes in on our review spot, which is the first spot on the show, they get paid a fee because they are often people who have put in a vast amount of time being journalists, being researchers, and actually anybody else who comes on later who is also fulfilling that role as well, because I believe that people need to be paid for their work. And alternative media do not do this. But I have ethics. And I believe that not only should I be paid, but our guests should be paid, not people who are selling something. If people are selling their Substack or they're selling a book or they're selling some kind of product, no, because their brand, they're coming on and their brand is being promoted. But if it's people who are coming on and they have done a huge volume of research at their own cost, and they should be paid, and I pay them. I do. That's what I do. So please support us. I really need that support. We need that support around here. That is absolutely vital. I will put links in the description. And if you support via Patreon, there are tiers. And for everybody who supports via Patreon, I do a once a month behind the scenes video that is only available on Patreon. And actually, I'm going on a mission this weekend, and that will be, and which I'm not telling anybody about until after the weekend, but that will be the next behind the scenes. And you'll get to see stuff that you don't see out front here. So there are choices. Thomas Williams on. Who's Thomas Williams? What's that? Cat? What's that? I do get interesting guests. He is really knowledgeable. Thomas Williams, I'm sure I've heard that name. Is that the pledge that people have been talking about? Because yes, I will invite him on. Absolutely. Soul Sounders, just put my Patreon in the comments. Thank you, Chris. And I really appreciate it. We need that support. I mean, it's really that simple, because we need that money to keep the lights on and keep this all going. And that is the reality of how it works, right? But I've updated my Patreon tiers to accommodate the new changes, and literally anything is appreciated. But what people were telling me when I was at the event last Tuesday was, yeah, I've been waiting for you to do something regular. And a lot of people don't even know I've got a website, because I hardly ever promote it on here. But we have, and we've got a wake up page as well, which actually has the live stream. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. So, show goes too quick, says Stephen. Well, hopefully we'll be able to introduce a Wednesday. So thank you for being here, everybody. And thank you for supporting my work. And I appreciate it all. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I appreciate people who have got us this far, because some people have financed us to get to this point. But now we want to go to the next level. And the next level must be to get rid of adverts and start to spread out onto other social medias. And thank you, John. I appreciate that contribution. And you can also contribute, obviously, on the live stream as well. And I appreciate anything. I literally appreciate anything that is contributed here. And obviously it's for the greater good, and it's about keep creating awareness. That's the most vital thing. So that's going to all start today. We're going to aim towards, by the end of the month, getting rid of adverts. And I know that makes you happy, because it makes me happy. Yes, it does. And of course, we also have mugs. And the mugs, although I can't see them, have I taken a copy of the mugs so that you could actually see them? Typical me, right? Isn't it typical me? Haven't taken a copy of the mugs, but I think you can see them anyway, because they're on the thumbnail and they're fabulous. Wait, I've got one here. Look at that. And of course, I will be giving away one of these mugs. First person that gets picked out after 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Thank you, Lisa. I absolutely appreciate that. I appreciate it all. We need a wake up meetup, says Woken Flower. Thank you, Shug. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all your support, Shug. You've been absolutely amazing. God love you. Right, we're coming on to the last thing. I heard a statement this weekend, and it made me go all funny. And the statement was, you are the product of a harvest others can't replicate. How fabulous is that? And it got me thinking, and not once and not twice, but about the importance of being authentic. And I know that what we do around here is authentic. We don't always get it right, and we might need to clear things up, and we might need to make corrections and all of those things. But the aim is authenticity, because I spent an awful lot of years and decades working under other people's guidance of fake media. And I'm not going to do it when I'm representing myself. This is the first time ever that I've been truly free. And of course, I'm not free of the constraints of YouTube, but I'm more free than I've ever been. There is nobody paying me a wage to do this other than you, right? So, and that's what makes it our ability. I'm naturally, I would like to believe that I'm naturally authentic anyway, because I don't know how to be anything else other than me. I literally don't, right? And the thing about being authentic is it needs you to be completely you, proudly and unashamedly so. And I think sometimes some people feel that they're wearing a mask, that they're not really showing who they are to the world, which is a pity, right? It's such a pity, because the greatest thing that I believe each individual can bring to this world is their own authenticity, who they truly are. And authenticity matters. We're constantly bombarded with images telling us who to be, and it's not who we already are, right? Because there's no money in that. We need to change our faces, right? And because my face as it stands, I'm not making money for anybody other than a bit of makeup here, right? Which lasts me forever anyway. But for the most part, I'm not having it surgically altered. I'm not got injections going into my skin, as you can tell. But I'm not making a fortune for anybody. I'm being authentic. That doesn't mean I look down on anybody who does. I did a long time ago. In my 30s, I remember having some Botox here, and I think it probably might have stuck. But for the most part, I would like to believe that when I rock up here, I'm being as authentic as I humanly can. But a lot of us have lost our authenticity because we are constantly balancing inner and outer aspects of ourselves in order to better fit into society. From being at school, primary school, we're told that we need to fit in, we need to follow the drill, we need to conform. Well, if we've seen anything over the last 4 or 5 years, is conformity is a very, very bad place to be, because it will get us into all manner of troubles. And almost there, Christine, because I now don't give a damn what people think. I know some think I'm crazy. Who cares, though? You're not crazy, Chris. I've met you. You're not crazy at all. So over the years, from when we're born, they chip away at our authenticity, because our authenticity not only will shine a light on the dastardly deeds of, for example, the black nobility and their puppets, but also our own authenticity is powerful. It's so powerful. When you show up as your authentic self, everybody notices. Everybody notices. Everybody also notices if you're fake, right? But authenticity, you know, that is that expression, isn't it? And that is you people, and I'm quoting it badly, but it's like people will forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but they won't forget how you made them feel. And authentic people leave you with a good feeling, right? So bit by bit, they've been eroding our authenticity from birth, 11, right? And overcoming that inauthenticity that has been placed on us is hard. We have to strip back layers. We've been molded as children by our parents, by teachers, by religious groups, by peers, by society, telling us we should be this when in fact we're this. We're this, the prize. But they want us to be an inferior version. So how to reconnect with your authenticity, how to develop your authenticity. Start by observing yourself as objectively as you can. Are you being real? Right? Are you being real in any circumstances? Examine your family belief system. What did they tell you about yourself that may have made you lose your authenticity? And also identify discrepancies that will enable you to develop your authenticity. Try to become aware of discrepancies between your actions and your beliefs, because some people absolutely know and believe there are bad things happening in this world, yet they go out and they vote. There's a discrepancy there in their authenticity, as one example. And examine your doubts about yourself to develop your authenticity. Likely is that what people have said to you throughout your life is not truly representative of who you are. That's likely. Because people have reasons to try and shape and mold you, and not least because they want to control you. And that's from school teachers to your parents. Explore your values. Where is your integrity? Where does it lie? What about your ethics? What about your personal values, your belief system? What about all these things? And I'll tell you one way to be absolutely authentic, and that is find a way to love yourself. And I know that's really hard for people, especially if you've been through hardship, if you've been abused, if you've been told that you're less than. When you love yourself, which I do love myself, right? Somebody the other week made a comment to me about how I don't have an ego, and she didn't mean it like that. And I immediately said, oh, I do have an ego. Oh, I do have an ego. I don't have an ego that runs riot, but I have an ego that tells me I'm good at what I do, that I have certain skills, and that I'm lovable and I love myself. That's my ego right there. But I don't let it take over. Most politicians are false. Yeah. Yes, Merlin. Exactly. They never stop trying to condition you. Trust your instinct. Exactly that is conditioning, right? And you can go through all the, if you need professional help, then seek it. But there are other ways of you finding this, right? I never voted once, never again. 1998, Milford, did you vote for Tony Blair by any chance? Because I did in that year. Travel is key and learning different cultures. I agree. Absolutely. Get out there. Find other people, what they're about. Yes, that's right, Ray J. Don't just love yourself on TikTok. I completely hear that. Yes, Randy. I'm authentic, mate. I do have a strength, but it's been hard earned. It's been hard earned. I had fairly difficult childhood and gratefully so. Don't get me wrong for that. We've talked about this before, the importance of adversity. And I'm a lioness, Randy. Oh, I am, my love. I am absolutely a lioness, right? But the thing is we're all born different. But the one thing that we are all born capable of being is our own authentic self. Absolutely. So if you need to try and get more in touch with the core of who you are, turn off everything, turn off the internet. Don't turn me off right now, but you know what I mean? Turn it all off. Go on the down low for a little bit, breathing exercises, tapping exercises, all these things can get you to the core of who you are. What matters to you? Authenticity matters. And so as I say, that quote, when I heard it just triggered me because I thought you are the product of a harvest others can't replicate is what we need to be told more often. What we're told at school is that we're just a number, right? You're not just a number. You are far from just a number. Literally, nobody has had your experience. Nobody can be authentic like you. And we need to keep remembering that, okay? And you need to maintain it as well. Once you find out your authentic self, maintain it. Listen to your inner guidance. Listen to your intuition. Strive to improve yourself. Real sees real. Teresa, that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, and that is, real eyes, real lies, real lies. I like that. Ancient tree hugger here. Crone, I'm the same. Yes, I am. And Catherine became a recluse to escape the egos of many, including myself. I'm emerging a much better version of myself. And slap on some tunes, Markcuson. If you think we're escaping today without another burst of our Christmas song, you've got another thing coming, mate. I just want to say thank you to you all, of course. Authenticity, you know what it is? It's the courage to be yourself. Do it. Do it right now. Start right now if you're not already doing it. And that's right, Mikey. Mikey's written it for me. Right there. Let me just pop it on the screen. Realize, realize, realize. There you go. There you go, indeed. Thank you, Woken Flower. Words are important in the spelling. Absolutely. Don't sleep with your phone in your bed, says Vape King. And so say all of us. And I want to thank you all. You're all amazing. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for every single one of your contributions. Whatever it is, I truly, truly appreciate it. And we are going out today. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much. We are going out today with this.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas,
You
people.
can't handle the truth.
Good morning, beautiful people. We are live.
The sun is rising, the sky is blue. Good morning, grand rising. Let's see what's
Wonderful
new.
weekend.
It's the time of
And
day
all
for
of
Sonia
you.
and crew. Good morning, grand risings. It's time to wake up with Sonia Poulton. Sonia Poulton.
Thank you all. It's been an amazing show. I've loved you all. You are the director of your life. Don't play the scripts written by others. You know the deal. Have a fantastic week and I will see you Friday. Thank you, Markcuson, for our fantastic opener to Christmas. More decks are going up. Absolutely. Love you all. It really is Woken Flower and that's what I love about it. Realize, love it. Who wants to handle the truth? We're going to do it together. Good luck. It may be more important than you know. Lots of love to you all, everybody. I will see you Friday. Take good care of yourself. Thank you for being here today and thank you for watching on Catch Up. Have a great week.